or rather to say it is a Queen of Wands, because she's holding this big wand. I absolutely love how queens are portrayed in this deck. And you know, in this particular deck, clearly both queen and king are showing that royalty, and that's why they have these like lion heads on the sides over here. I love her white dress, and I love her determination. She also, however, has a little kind of like self either reflecting, because the sunflower is almost like a mirror that we see over here. So when Queen of Wands appears, so whether or not you're dealing with somebody who is a fire sign, which could be the case, but this can actually really talk that you need to remember that what you want to do, you can do. This is also talking about joy and courage combined, kind of like going through life with vigor, not kind of like going through life with kind of like sweaty palms. And like there is like an issue about self-esteem. So usually when stuff like that and such a strong card and a lovely card comes through, well, I have to ask, was there an issue with self-esteem? And why did you feel that you felt that way, right? Because it doesn't feel like something kind of like permanent, right? But it could be that it was a blow. It could be, you know, that it was just simply vanity, or you didn't feel, you know, good enough. And you have to examine that situation. Whew. We are having the Fool as another jumper over here. Jumpers are very important because jumpers are almost like a spirits that, you know, want to communicate. If you ever seen The Ghost with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg, and Whoopi Goldberg was basically simply a fraud psychic. And because the spirit really wanted to talk to Demi Moore's character in a movie, because her husband, I think it was an accident or something, died, right? Like the spirit just like enter Demi Moore talking, right? So that's kind of like how sometimes feels like these cards are really coming through to really give this additional information, because I do have a spread, but this is like, no, I don't have time, read me now. The Fool is the very first card in a deck. It's almost like a seal. Like we have major arcana, we have minor arcana. In major arcana, we have cards from 0 to 21. And sometimes we have them from 1 to 21, and 0 is at the very end. Because 0 is almost like a loop. It's rather a loop. Okay, you came to the end, let's start all over again. You finish your elementary school, whoops, let's start high school, and so on and so forth in life. But this is also talking about somebody who, in tarot kind of like terms, is kind of like just coming down to this planet to experience, like just imagine it's interstellar traveling. Let's say that would be possibly God, because it does represent God, kind of coming down and saying, well, I really want to see what you really feel, because I wanted to feel it for myself. I want to hear everything and want to learn the lessons. If you really look, like, I mean, and it's really fancy in this pre-Raphaelite deck that I have, which I love. I'm so much in love, almost like rather weight. You know that I usually do cat tarots for this, because that's why we are called cat tarot, but I just couldn't resist reading with this deck. So my private clients are going to be super duper happy with this, I believe. So it's really interesting because you can see how much above this is. So what really comes to mind is, wait a minute, how is this much higher, and this is already all blue, and thinking cold blue, or it could be distant blue as well, but this is still all green and all kind of like luxurious. But you can see this sense of royalty over here. Look at his little sash, or whatever this is, the backpack is really something kind of like fancy schmancy if you really think about it, right? And so he is kind of like bringing this sense of freedom. Keep in mind that Fool represents air, because spirituality on this planet is also linked with air sign. So it could be like, I mean, sort of like something going on in your head, but this also can talk about maybe feeling very enchanted with a sense of freedom, but also knowing that certain things kind of like cost too much. Maybe we cannot afford them. Like that's heavy price tag of, let's say, having a relationship with someone. It's too tasking, right? Too draining kind of a thing. This kind of like can really represent layers and layers and layers of thing, from freedom and instinct to an innocence, I guess, to chaos and danger. But this is upright, so I really think this is more or less really talking about that positive kind of like vibrations that are happening. So all right, let's see what other messages do we have for Scorpio. What other messages do we have for Scorpio? Spirits, any other messages? Okay. Oh, I was just about to say I'm cutting this off, and there it is. It was reversed, guys. So there is an artist over here who is admiring her work, and it's really amazing because I just had that conversation in a park about walking tiger with two other people who are artists, right? And like we were all talking about paintings because we were watching people propping their kind of stuff and painting, but it turned out they were just spray painting. It was like not much of a painting. So we were all talking about how sometimes you overdo things, and when you overdo things, then it takes a long time, if ever, to do it right. This card is really talking about the right measure of things, right? Because look, the tools are all here, but she is really thinking hard if she needs to add anything, right? Imagine putting the $ chain on Mona Lisa. Ooh, I think it will be a little bit overwhelming and it wouldn't really play things right. In tarot, this card really talks about expertise. It talks about almost like perfection, right? If there is any card talking about it. But it's also talking about that, you know, for her, this project is maybe transitory, something that is just happening in a moment. But maybe for society it's going to be long lasting. This also can talk about, you know, that you're willing to put yourself to the test, and you want to exceed the expectations. So there is kind of like that perfectionism coming through it. So this can talk about career advancement, this can talk about promotions, but then again, guys, this can be reversed. So something is keeping you stuck, something is keeping you from giving your best pour forward, or maybe you simply don't have other people. Sometimes it's not us. So I laugh it because most of us always interpret it that way. Well, it's not me, couldn't be me. Sometimes it's not us, but it really could be them in your situation. Okay, Scorpio, which is any more? You're getting oh, you had Fool, and now you have the Magician, and I love this Magician. They pick a woman, and it makes so much more sense, right? So, you know, this is really talking about you guys have been multi-talented, which kind of links with that Three of Pentacles, right? And it is really time to go up and up and up. Like, you do have what's needed. Like, stop procrastinating, start going to what you need to do. Like, there is a talent, and you need to also show initiative, because that too kind of like make this really deadly combination. So, you know, combined with the Fool that is saying, woo, you know, yeah, this is so cool. Here it is, like, mind is very sharp. Both of these cards, did you notice how tarot deck is starting with air? There's like 0 was air and 1 is air, because that's kind of like descent. In the story of tarot, Fool is coming to the Magician and saying, you know, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I was told I have to learn everything about you people and how you live your lives, and humans and animals and everything. So Magician is saying, okay, I'll teach you. There are some tools about that, except this is not the Magician. And I'm sorry, this is just me learning about this tarot. This is actually Ace of Cups.